have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock.
Hello, happy Monday. Welcome to the Bold Moves podcast. I am the host, Mandie Brice, and I'm excited to share another episode with you. Last week, I chatted with someone who is at the beginning of her entrepreneurial journey, and this week is another instance of someone who recently, well, at least recently at the time of the interview, quit her day job to pursue her passion, but this time as a coach. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Courtney Berry, whose story resonates a lot with me, as you'll see. I hope it resonates with you as well. Stay tuned at the end if you're interested in having a one-on-one chat with Courtney, because that is something she is generously offering to a winner. All right, without further ado, here is Courtney Berry. All right, everyone, welcome to the Bold Moves podcast. I am with Courtney Berry. Welcome to the show, Courtney.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to hear your story. So you know the show is called, of course, Bold Moves, which means that you had to have made some at some point. Why don't you give us a little synopsis of your story and the bold moves that you've made that got you this position on the show?
All right. Well, I was in a corporate 9-to-5 job. I hated it. I needed out. I knew I was meant for something bigger, something greater, but I had to take that massive leap of faith, and I kept seeing all these people doing it in Facebook groups. I'm like, oh, I can't wait until I can make that post. And I just had to do it. All it was just making that jump. It's not a matter of waiting until the stars are aligned. It's just jumping and knowing everything's going to work for you. And I did that, and it was terrifying. And I'm so grateful that I did, and everything's working out. It's not that scary after you jump. It's just the anticipation of having to do the jump that, oh no, I don't like the unknown, what's going to happen, and I promise you everything works out. It does.
I love it. So a little more details on that. What were you doing in the corporate field before? How long ago have you made that leap? And what exactly did you leap to aside from the fact that you got to be your own boss?
I was working in the insurance industry.
Okay.
I actually worked from home, which was really nice. So I was glued to my job as though it was a 9-to-5 in the office, just at the comfort of my own home. So I didn't like the fact that, I had everything as a 9-to-5, but I was at home and I didn't have the freedom to do everything I could working from home.
Sure.
So I basically just went, you know what? I was in the job for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying, okay, you know what? I'm not going to find anything better other than my own business and starting my own thing.
Sure.
And I just kept going, and I was getting more depressed at my job. And I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm done. I'm fed up. This is enough. This is my time. I'm jumping. And I just made it happen. Like, I was pushing papers every day. I felt undervalued for what I was doing. Like,
that's pretty common in the corporate world.
Yeah, I mean, like, working from home, we would go for a meeting. Like, you got to take a dump. You got to go to the washroom. Like, common sense. Like, everyone does it. And I would literally got to the point at my job where I would go to the washroom before a team meeting, and my boss would message me after and go, why weren't you on this? Like, why was your status set as away? Because we had, like, an online messenger system.
Sure.
And she'd be like, why were you away before the meeting? What were you doing? I'm like, really? I was in the washroom. Like, do you want me to send you a tab on when I'm in the washroom? Because I can do that.
Right.
And just having that pressure over my head was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I was getting depressed, and I dreaded waking up. I dreaded my alarm clock. Like, working from home, my alarm would go off at 8 o'clock. I started at 8 o'clock. I'd turn my computer on. That was my routine. Like, nothing else. Just get it over with.
So what did you then move to? What are you doing now?
I'm a happiness strategist and a business coach. And I just basically show coaches that you don't have to deal with burnouts. Like, if you're dealing with burnouts in your business, you're doing something you don't want to be doing.
Sure.
And that's the reason why that's happening. So I kind of walk you through your business and help you figure out what it is you're doing. Like the big thing with right now is being pushed to do discovery calls to find your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't want to be doing that.
So you work specifically with coaches then? So you're a coach for coaches.
I am. I'm a coach for coaches.
That's awesome. I guess it makes sense that that would exist, but I wouldn't think about that being a job that people would have. How long have you been coaching coaches?
I started in September.
Okay, awesome. So you're a few months in and it's going well, and that's awesome. Tell me more about the happiness strategist piece.
Well, originally I was doing Beachbody.
Okay.
When I first started getting into this whole be your own boss thing.
Sure.
And I branded myself as a happiness coach, and people came to me to kind of find the joy in their life, lose the weight, make yourself a priority, practice self-care, and then diving into my business coaching, I was like, well, there's definitely a need for this because I'm seeing all these entrepreneurs with they're stressed, they're overwhelmed, they're like it's such a yucky energy that everybody's dealing with, and they don't have to deal with that. So I just found a need for it and just dove right in and went, okay, all right, this is what I'm doing.
I love it. Do you have any certifications or anything, or is it just something that you found a calling and an ability to do?
I have a certification as a happiness coach. It does exist. And I'm a certified life purpose coach and a certified life coach.
Awesome. How did you get those certifications, and what organizations are they from?
The life coach one, my entire life, I've always been that go-to counselor pretty much since I could walk and talk. Like everybody came for me advice. There's this 12-year-old kid giving this like 30, 40-year-old advice because that happens. And I was like, hey, this is actually a thing. I can do this as a business. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I always wanted to be some type of a therapist or counselor or psychologist or anything in that type of department where I can help people.
Sure.
And I found an online course from, I think it's called iLife Coach.
Okay.
It's a website, and you can do a course for free, and then you pay for the exam. So it's like, okay, I'll take it for free. And then I got to the end. I'm like, well, I've already finished the course. I might as well get certified. So I took the course and got certified in that. And then the other one I found, I can't honestly remember the name. But if you just search happiness coach or life purpose coach, they're the only ones that offer that certification.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. I loved it.
Very cool. Are you still involved with Beachbody?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. I shared a few things in common with you. One is that I'm technically still a Beachbody coach, but I am not seeking new business or working with it very much. I basically told my friends I'm available to help, but I'm not actively doing very much with it. But then I also am writing a book, so not coaching, but I am writing a book about happiness that's almost done. So we share a couple things in common. And I agree, like Beachbody was the same thing with me that really kind of pushed me over the edge. I had already quit my day job before I became a Beachbody coach, but it kind of began my own entrepreneurial journey outside of makeup artistry. So I definitely credit Beachbody and the MLM design for kind of getting me on that track.
Oh, definitely. I mean, before I got into Beachbody, I thought the whole self-care, personal development thing was just so ridiculous. Reading books like, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and like all those overrated books. And then they introduced me to actual self-development books. I'm like, hey, this is actually kind of cool. I didn't know this existed. And sure enough, it helped a lot. So I definitely credit them for all of this happiness, high vibe energy, and just, you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you may have kind of already hinted toward this, and if you don't know the answer, you can absolutely say that as well. But I'm wondering, Courtney, if you know your purpose, and if so, what that is for you right now.
My purpose is basically just showing people that you create your own reality. Like if you're dealing with burnouts in your business, you're doing it yourself. If you're stressed in your life, you're doing it yourself. And every single day you can wake up and you can decide today's going to be a great day, or today I'm going to sign a client, or today I'm going to have $1,000 sale. And as long as you believe that throughout the day, it's probably going to happen to you. And if it doesn't, oh well, wake up the next day and do it again. Like you create whatever it is that you want to live. Like you, as they say, you create your life by design, and it's true.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm here for.
Do you ever have a hard time remembering those things yourself?
I do, honestly, and that's a lot. Like we always are doing whatever it is that we need to work on. So like the people that are relationship coaches, well, they probably have relationship struggles themselves, which is why they're learning more about it and they're diving deeper into the subject. And then ultimately by learning more about it, you can coach on it yourself. So most of the things that we're doing ourselves are something that we're usually doing for other people as well.
That makes sense. Now, I'm curious, and it may be what you did back in September, or it may be something else, but I'm curious what the scariest thing you've ever done is.
It was definitely quitting my job.
Yeah.
I have always, my entire life, I am starting to learn not to do this, but I've always been a step-by-step preparation. Everything has to be lined up. Do this and do that. And that's kind of what I've had my entire life. So quitting my 9-to-5 job, having that stable income, that steady paycheck every 2 weeks, you know what's going to come, and then suddenly just cutting yourself off from that resource, it was terrifying. I mean, I have bills to pay. It was scary, but you got to do scary things to make things happen. So I did it.
Absolutely. So what about the logistics of it? How did you know you were ready? Did you have a bunch of money saved just in case? Or did you just have a day where you're like, I'm over it, I'm done, goodbye, I'm not telling anyone when I have to use the bathroom anymore?
I had $6,000 or $8,000 in debt. I was in my negatives. I had credit card debt. I had no money. I had nothing saved up.
Wow.
I had 0 clients. I just basically went, you know what? My happiness is more important than having a 9-to-5 stable job. I know that I'm going to be supported. I know something's going to work out for me because I'm making this scary leap. And I remember that conversation with my boss because I actually talked to my boyfriend and was like, okay, I want to quit my job. Like, can I quit? And just kind of seeing where he was at.
Yeah.
And, okay, go right ahead. You know, you do what makes you happy. So that night I actually phoned my boss and I remember telling her straight up, so I'm sorry, but I'm not showing up for work tomorrow and I'm giving in my notice effective immediately.
Wow.
And I'm sorry. My happiness is more important and I'm not happy at this job anymore. So how do you want me to go forward with this? And I was really like, my hands were shaking as I'm doing this. I called, I hung up, I called, I hung up, and like it was a terrifying decision because I'm like, as soon as I make this leap, there's no going back.
Right.
And as soon as I made that leap, I'm like, just this huge sigh of relief, like, oh, thank goodness it's done. And you just got to do it.
So you may have been giving the advice when you just said you just got to do it, but I'm curious if somebody, for example, someone you were coaching, and I'm not trying to scam free coaching out of you now, but if they were facing a scary decision like that, what is advice you give to people when it's time to push past fear?
I usually tell my clients that, like, again, as I said earlier, you have the option to create your reality. So if you want to continue playing the victim, by all means, continue playing the victim. But it's ultimately up to you on whether or not you want to keep creating the reality that you're living. So, I mean, like, I don't know if anyone reads Harry Potter, but if you look at her backstory, she was legitimately living in her car writing Harry Potter because she knew it was going to happen and failure was not an option for her. So she made means with whatever she could to make it happen. Yeah. And that's just what you got to do is not accept the reality that you have right now and know that there's something better out there for you. And as long as you keep believing that and you keep striving to achieve it, then all those things are going to keep coming to you.
I love that. And so far, the last 3-ish months, they have been, right?
Yeah.
I love to hear that.
I have completely released the how it's going to happen and just showing up every single day. And as long as you're doing that and you're not forcing an outcome to happen, then you're going to have things come to you. Like I don't know if I can mention this or not, but I have a membership site that I never would have imagined creating a membership site. And within my first month, I had 16 members or actually within my first week. But if I didn't release the how of how I'm going to, find the clients, how I'm going to make this work for me, and where the income's going to come from, I wouldn't have came up with that idea, and I wouldn't have that income coming in. So as long as you just keep going.
Sure. Tell me a little more about releasing the how and how that works, how that's working for you.
It is an ongoing struggle, I'll be honest. If I'm being really authentic, I am dealing with this every single day. And I am a firm believer in God. And every single day I basically I find a verse and I go, okay, anytime I start worrying, anytime I start thinking of, oh, this person's not going to sign up for me. Oh, this isn't going to happen. What if this happens? And my mind just starts rolling. I go straight to that verse and I go, okay, all right. And I'm constantly finding ways to distract my brain. I'm a gamer, so I'm constantly turning on my PlayStation while I'm working, should be working, and just playing a game because I know that's going to distract me from the thoughts that I'm having. So having that source that you can have to just release those thoughts that you're having. And one thing that I love doing, and I always tell my clients to do, is literally have a fight with that thought in your head. If you're telling yourself, oh, today's going to be a crappy day, and then you can backlash back and be like, no, it's not. It's going to be the most amazing day ever. And then your inner mean girl or ego or whatever talks back, and they're like, no, did you not just see what just happened? Well, yeah, that's just a tiny thing. And I just constantly lash back at her, and eventually that thought just shuts up. And I don't know how it happens, but it does, and it's amazing. So
that's how I like that strategy a lot. Now, you were mentioning going to a verse. Is it always the same verse, or do you kind of flip the Bible open and find one, or what is it?
I usually just flip the Bible open, and right now my big verse is just going to anything with faith. I keep flipping to verses with faith, and right now that's really what I need with quitting my job is, sure. Okay, you need to have faith that this is going to work. And you may not have money for your bills right now. You may be in debt. You may have balances to pay off, but just keep having faith. I have you. Everything's going to work out. Why are you stressing out? I am a God that can move mountains. Why are you stressed out that I can't provide for you? Stop it.
I love it. Is it faith then that you believe is what's responsible for when you release the how things happening, or what is the explanation or idea behind that working for you, and how did that work in your membership? Because obviously a membership site doesn't build itself. You came up with the idea, and you could have been thinking, how am I going to make money? How am I going to make money? But you said you released the how, so you didn't do it from a brainstorming session, I'm guessing. So how does that idea work? Because I'm interested in it, because I'm definitely a type A where I'm okay, step by step, this is what we're going to do. And it sounds like you're pushing yourself to be the opposite. So I'm really intrigued by that idea. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a type A too, and I'm trying to get out of that because I know being a type A has not worked for me in my life. That's why I got stuck at my 9-to-5. So with releasing the how is just a matter of feeling your emotions. So get pissed off at what's happening with you and just remind yourself why you're pissed off. So with quitting your job, why are you still here? Why am I still stuck here? And just constantly remembering why you're feeling the feelings that you're feeling, and just getting pissed off knowing that I don't like getting jealous at people, so I don't want to say get jealous at someone, but look at someone's success and go, if they can do that, why can't I do that?
Right.
And just reminding yourself that I just I can't make that happen myself. I know there's something else out there. So, I mean, like right now we're on Zoom. Someone had to create Zoom. So having this podcast, you didn't create the podcast yourself. Someone created Zoom so that you could have the podcast. Someone created technology so you can have the podcast.
Sure.
So just knowing that there's something else out there supporting you to make it happen, and knowing that if someone else can do it, then you can do it too. Because we all start somewhere. And as long as you keep starting and you know that it can happen and you have this constant fail forward, failure is not an option, I'm going to make this happen no matter what, and just keep striving towards that strong why of why you're doing what you're doing, then everything's just going to keep lining up for you.
So you mentioned the strong why, and I think I've brought this up before in other interviews, and maybe now I am trying to scam on your coaching expertise, but at least I'm being honest about it. What if you don't feel like you have a strong why?
Then you need to revisit it, because if you don't think it's a strong why, it's probably not a strong why.
But what does revisiting it mean? Like that's something that has been kind of driving me crazy for years, is that I don't at this point, like I feel like I have a pretty comfortable life and I know that I can do better, but I can't find the motivation, let's say. What would you say to someone who feels that way and how to figure it out?
So with having a strong why, like and this comes a lot with like comparisonitis and like looking into other people's success and going, oh, I'd love to have that. But that's not what's going to fuel you. What's going to fuel you is why you want to have that. So with me, I was so bad at setting bad whys. And like, I want to have these 5K months. I want to go on tropical vacations. I want to travel. And it's like, that's not my strong why. That's not why I'm doing it. That's just a benefit of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Sure.
When my deepest why is I want to be called mom. I want to become a parent. And in order to make that happen, for my spouse to actually want to have kids, we have to be financially stable. That's his big thing, is we want to be financially stable. But in order to make that happen, I have to have my business grow. Right. So that kind of fueled my success with my business, and why it's grown as quick as it has is I reset my why from, well, I want to have these, big months, to I want to have these big months so that I can, set our stability to be a mom. Like, and then as soon as I revisited it and was like, that's not my why. Like, that'd be great. I'd love to have that. But I mean, I would coach for free if I knew that down the road I would never make any money. I'd still do it. Right. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. It sounds like similar to what Danielle Laporte teaches. Are you a fan of Danielle Laporte? Have you read any of her books or anything?
I've looked at her books. I keep saying that I'm going to buy them. This is just another confirmation that I need to hurry up and buy them, because there's I got to read.
I will send you a link, because she's giving the Desire Map bundle away free right now. So when we get off, I will send you the link to it.
I love it.
See, it was meant to be. I guess we released the how and you got your books. Or at least one.
Had that book, or I keep saying I'm going to buy her planner, I'm going to buy her books for the past year. And just this past week alone, I have had 5 or 6 people mention it to me. Oh, have you seen this book? Oh, this is the planner I have. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm listening. Like, I need to buy it. And I haven't bought it yet. And now you're like, hey, by the way.
Well, her planner's half off too. I just bought one too. But so there you go. Speaking of books, and I can totally identify with that, because there have been several books that have come up as recommendations from podcast guests where I'm like, okay, this is like the 7th guest who's recommended this book, and I still haven't read it. So I totally know what you mean. But speaking of, what books do you have to recommend?
All right. Well, my biggest book to recommend would probably be The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein.
Okay.
And I actually have a fantastic story with why I recommend that book. And
all right, let's hear it.
Right after I quit my job. And I love telling this story because it blows me away every time I hear it. Like, I can't believe that actually happened. But right after I quit my job, my big thing was, you know what? Like, the one reason I wanted to quit was not only to spend Christmas holidays and be told, no, sorry, you only get 2 days off. Like, sorry, no, that's not what I want. I'm taking a whole 2 weeks off. Screw you. But I wanted to go on a 2-week fishing trip with my boyfriend. And in order to make that happen, I had to quit or I had to bring in the resources to make it happen to quit. So I ended up quitting and we went on this vacation the next day. On the drive there, I just burst into tears. I'm like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
What did I just do? Like, okay, God, like, did I make the right decision? Like, and I started panicking and freaking out. And after reading The Universe Has Your Back, she talks about having like a symbol from the universe to, you know, reassure you that you're doing everything okay and just kind of give you that symbol that you're exactly where you're meant to be. Just keep doing what you're doing. And my symbol was an eagle. Mm-hmm. So we're on this road trip. We're traveling. I'm bursting into tears, and like he has no idea I'm in tears. I'm like hiding my face, of course.
Right.
But like, okay, I need a sign. Like, show me a sign. Show me an eagle, God. Like, I need to be reassured right now. We're driving, and within like not even 30 seconds later, I see Eagle Cove, Eagle Bay, Eagle Drive, and I'm like, really? Like, I meant a physical eagle. Like, I want to see an eagle. So then a few blocks later, I see a bird, and I'm like, I think that's an eagle. I'm not sure. Okay, all right, that's it. Last request. I want Aaron to point out an eagle to me. That is my last request to know I'm on the right path. Get Aaron to show me an eagle. And not even like 15 seconds later, he's like, oh, hey, honey, look over there. There's a bunch of eagles. And I'm like, what?
Several?
Even just one. There was like 5 or 6 eagles.
Do eagles even normally do that? I thought they're kind of usually alone.
No, they don't. So like not only did I see road signs with the word eagle, I thought I saw a single eagle. And I'm like, no. Like, get him to show me the eagles. And then the most uncommon occurrence of a big group of them, which normally if they're in a big group, they're usually fighting. And they're just hanging out in a field. They weren't even in a tree. They were just sitting in a field.
Wow.
And I'm like, what?
There you go. There's your sign in abundance. I love that. I'm curious, where are you from?
I'm from Grand Prairie, Alberta. Good old northern Canada.
Okay. I figured you were somewhere from the north because I got a little bit of the accent, and I'm in California. There's not a lot of eagles that we see. Hawks, a lot of hawks, but I don't see eagles very often. I also think it's funny that you're in Canada and you have short sleeves, and I'm in Los Angeles with a hoodie and a scarf because I think it's 55 degrees. It's drizzling. I'm like, oh, I better bundle up. Oh, my goodness. I'm from Wisconsin originally, so I do have the experience of north and cold, but I don't think as much as in Alberta. What is the temperature there for you?
Well, in Celsius. I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit. I tried conversion. Doesn't work for me. In Canada, with our Celsius, it's usually anywhere between -30 to -40. So I don't know what that would be, but it's really cold.
Yeah, that's insane. That's a hard no for me. But I am always amazed by people who can do it. I went home for Christmas and it was freezing, and I'm like, next year Christmas is in California. All right. So I love your book recommendation. I appreciate that. And you have given some other life advice, and maybe some tips on surviving the cold would be helpful, although I hope not to need to use them. But what are any other like life lessons that you have learned that you would like to pass on, or things you've learned that you wished you learned earlier, or just in general, anything else helpful that you can impart on our listeners or viewers?
Oh man, where do
I know. This could be hours, but I guess the most important ones you can give us.
I would say the most important lesson I could probably give today would be that everything happens for a reason. And I'll obviously combine this with another one because I have way too many.
I didn't mean to limit you to one. If you have a few, you can share a few. But I, of course, want to give as much value as we can.
Yeah, I want to help your tribe. All right, so like everything happens for a reason, and I mean, no matter what situation you're in right now, it may seem like it's the absolute worst day of your life, or you know, like your life just sucks. Why is this happening to me? And just look back on previous times where you've experienced that same emotion, like going through high school, for example. Like oh my gosh, someone just embarrassed me in front of my crush, and you're like, oh, this is the worst day ever. Looking back now, you're like, really? That was the worst day of my life? Like, are you kidding me?
Half the time when I get really upset, I can't even remember a week later why I was upset last week. Like, I know I had a bad day last week, but I don't remember why.
Yeah. And then something I actually just recently read that I am starting to do, which has been really helpful in my life, is having a specific day to just worry. So if you have like any type of negative experience and you want to worry about it later, say, okay, all right, I acknowledge this worry or whatever. And then, you know, I'm going to come back to it on, say, Fridays. You set Friday as your day. And then, like, maybe go write it down or just tell yourself you're going to remember it on Friday. And chances are when you read that on Friday or you go to take that time on Friday to remember what you were worried about, you're not going to remember it because it wasn't really significant. It was significant at the time because it was such a strong, high emotion at the time.
Right.
But going forward, you're like, oh, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's in the past. So yeah, that was kind of a really fun tool to utilize that I just recently discovered, and definitely recommend doing that.
I love that idea, and I definitely want to try it, but I wonder from the standpoint of someone like me who has perhaps gotten good at repressing emotions, do you think that that's potentially not dealing with it, or do you think it's just kind of triaging and just if it's really important, then you actually will worry about it Friday or figure it out Friday?
Yeah, well, I think like no matter who you are, like if especially as type A's and being like, you know, step, list, it definitely depends. Like it may, like not every tool is going to work for everyone.
Right.
Being a person who is a type A, yeah, because it's kind of almost a way for me to for sure go release that thought, because I know that if I release it now, I'm going to be able to come back to it on Friday because I wrote it down. Sure. And then by the time I go on Friday to look at that list, I'm reading it and I'm like, that was already, like, that was a prayer I was praying for. It was already answered. Okay, cross that off. Don't need to worry about that.
I love that.
I don't even remember that happening. So obviously that doesn't matter. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that anymore. And usually, like, it's just a heightened emotion at the time. And then when you come back to it, you're like, why was I even worried about this? Like, of course I'm being supported. Of course everything's going to work out for me.
I love that.
Why? And so, yeah, I mean, it depends on, it may work for you, it may not, but for me, it does.
I love that. I'm definitely going to give that a shot. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Let me know how it goes.
I will. So my favorite question to ask all of the guests that I usually save for last is one that I've been asking for years, even before I had a podcast. But if little Courtney, 8 years old, has a crystal ball and can see into the future with modern day present Courtney, see everything you've experienced, the life you're living now, and of course you can see the foreseeable future from where you are now to what's kind of in store for you. On a scale of 1 to 11, how excited would little Courtney be to see current Courtney?
Little Courtney would be absolutely excited as could be, pretty much like a kid going to Disneyland excited, which really asking that question to myself and being able to answer that kind of makes me really rethink my perspective on my life now, because 8-year-old Courtney would be like, you get to spend all day cuddling your cat. You get to read all day. You can play video games all day. Like, you can do whatever you want. You don't have any rules. You can do anything. Like, if you want to go out and do this, you can do that. Nobody's going to tell you not to do that. And just kind of really putting that into perspective like that is like, whoa, I got a lot going for me. This is awesome.
I love it. I'm so glad. So would you say 11, 12, 15?
We'll put it at 100.
Okay, I like that. We'll stick with 100. Well, Courtney, thank you so much for your time that you've shared and the advice. I know that people listening are going to find a lot of value, especially anybody who perhaps need a little faith or some signs from the universe or God, or people who are potentially looking at an exit plan to quit their jobs. I really appreciate what you're sharing.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Absolutely. I hope that you found my interview with Courtney motivating and inspiring as much as I did. I think her faith in God and trusting the process is really something that I've been working on as well. And so seeing her complete confidence that everything will work out the way it should was really inspiring to me, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe so that you are ready for the challenge that Courtney has for you for this coming Friday for the Bold Moves Fearless Fridays episode, as well as share this with anyone who you think will find this motivational or inspirational and who could maybe learn something from it. Also, as I mentioned in the intro, Courtney said she was willing to do a one-on-one call with some lucky listeners, so please make sure you head over to www.mandiem.com/episode 145. Since this is the 145th episode, I can barely believe it. That's where you can find information on how to find Courtney and where you can also enter to win. Now, as I mentioned, I'd love it if you subscribed and shared. I would also love it if you left a review on iTunes, especially if you are loving the podcast, because my goal is to get this in as many ears, or if you're listening on YouTube, as many eyes as I possibly can. And the best way to do that is to tell those social media and internet algorithms that you're loving it so that they suggest it for other people. So I would really appreciate it if you did that. If you are someone who is at the beginning, middle, or end of your entrepreneurial journey, or you've just done something pretty cool, I would love it if you checked out the Bold Moves podcast guest application page at www.mandiem.com/guest. That is where you can submit your story and information, links, pictures, and all of that good stuff to be considered to be a guest on the Bold Moves podcast. I would love to hear what you are up to, so make sure that you do that. All right, as always, be bold and have a sparkly day. Bye-bye.